Today's video brings us to Laurel Canyon in Los Angeles, California, where I'm going to be showing you the former home of The Doors lead singer Jim Morrison. So let's go check it out. I'm walking down right now to the former property of Jim Morrison, but I just can't help to just honestly look around. I mean, I've been here several times, but every single time I'm in Laurel Canyon, which is almost every other day to be honest, because I live probably about 10 minutes from it. It's always really beautiful. I love it. Every single time I'm here, it's absolute peace, and you could just see why Jim Morrison wanted to live here and other rock stars, artists in general. It's beautiful. The Lizard King himself. That's awesome. Love Street. It's only right they have, you know, a portrait of him somewhere near this place. Something that's always stuck out to me about this property is sometime in Hollywood there were people going around, some arsonists, and they were on a spree, and unfortunately Jim's house would fall victim to one of the properties that were burnt. There was a car parked out front, and actually the arsonist had actually set it on fire, and that's when, you know, the house had went in flames. Literally, I'm looking at where the car would be parked. I'm gonna get a closer shot, but where the car would be parked, that would ultimately put the house in flames. Sorry about the loud truck. Right now they're making deliveries, I think, to the Canyon store. Morrison house, parking only. The car that I was talking about with the arsonist would have been somewhere along here where it would have happened, ultimately putting the house in flames and falling victim to the arsonist spree. But it was rebuilt, and when Jim and Pam lived in it, it was actually wood. The house was more wood. Now it's built up of concrete, but it's really cool. There's things that weren't here when Jim lived here, as things that are still here when Jim was here. One of the things that wasn't here is actually that bell up at the top. It's like a Spanish type home, Spaniard. It's really, really cool. It's a vibe, but that bell was not here when Jim lived here. Knowing that Jim would walk these streets, this street specifically, and all of the music and poetry that came to him, and just, you know, his thoughts, I'm curious what was created here and what he evolved into here, because there's a lot of growth here, and I couldn't imagine actually owning a home in Laurel Canyon, doing what you love. You know, that's ultimate success. This is a little bit more up the street. I'd say the side of the house, the country market's right here, so you can see that the country market wasn't too far from where Jim lived. And Love Street is about, the song Love Street that Jim wrote is about this entire street, market, this house. It's awesome that he gave it that spirit and that energy. You can really feel the spirit of Laurel Canyon when you're here. You really can. It's its own sanctuary in Los Angeles, and if you know, you know. A really, really crazy thing is, so remember when I was saying that there were things that were here when Jim was here, and then there are things that weren't here? There's a secret bathroom that actually ended up not getting burnt at all. It wasn't touched in the fire. Had tons of signatures to Jim before he had left to Paris from friends. Really, really crazy piece of history. Also, there was a guitar on the top of the property somewhere. I don't know if it was the backyard, somewhere in there. but I saw it on the news, a news clip when the house burnt down. There was a guitar, and the guitar didn't catch fire either. Not one slight of flame, nothing. Just perfect condition, which makes you think, could the spirit of Jim Morrison still be here? Who knows? You never know. Pretty crazy to me that one of the original things that are still in this house, the secret bathroom, the bathroom Jim and Pam and all of his friends and anybody who came over would have used, was still there and untouched by the fire, and a guitar. Like, what are the odds? Jim's would be right here. This is Jim's old property. So I'm sure it looks nothing like it did when Jim did live here, you know, but it's the property that's, you know, sacred, and where Jim would ultimately come to get away from all the madness of, you know, Hollywood and Los Angeles and just in general being a real rock star. Now I am going to make my way over to the market. We're actually in the song Love Street, which this entire place is about, the Doors song Love Street. Jim actually says where the creatures meet. And he's talking about all of the other artists and rock stars that lived in Laurel Canyon during that time of music would all come, and that's where they would do their shopping, and that's where they would get their things. And if you think about it, there's a store where the creatures meet. Thought when I was younger, like, what is he talking about? What store, like, or where do they meet who? And you do a little history, do a little research, and it's all around you. There it is. This is actually a restaurant right here, but the market, you take these stairs right here and it takes you right up to it. But I noticed this Love Street sign right here. And if you can't read it, it says Love Street was written by the Doors about Rothdale Trail and the surrounding area in Laurel Canyon, where lead singer Jim Morrison and his girlfriend Pamela Morrison resided. The song appears on their third album, Waiting for the Sun. The Doors are one of the most influential American groups in rock and roll history. Fun fact, Mama Cass actually lived in the basement to this market store. The Doors, the store where the creatures meet. Can't really read it, but if you pause it, you can go ahead and read it. Canyon Country Store. Yeah, that's it right there. That's the proper name for it. It's cool. It's got a really rad place you could check out. But that's where they would do all their shopping, right here in Laurel Canyon. The Doors mean a lot to me, and they meant a lot to me growing up. No matter where I was, it was, my uncle was showing me a new Doors song, my dad, it was in my family. The things I love and I always go back to. History repeats itself. The things you grow up loving, you're always gonna come back to loving. It's who you are. And I love Jim Morrison and the Doors. I have them tattooed on my thigh. I have a portrait of him on my thigh. I see him every single day. It's the Lizard King, the young lion. He's an innovator for a lot of things, poetry, music, singing, art. He was one of a kind, and I had to come here. It's actually right there. Crazy. Yeah, it's actually right there. It's just cool. It's rock history or rock and roll, you know, music history. Jim Morrison and the Doors, Laurel Canyon, and the real Love Street home. Thank you so much for joining me today. That was the real Love Street home of Jim Morrison, lead singer of the Doors. Make sure you subscribe, like this video, and comment wherever you want me to go next. I love doing this. I have a passion for the places I go. I don't just go to get views and, you know, try to be in some sort of algorithm for YouTube. All the places I go, I truly love, and it is always going to resonate with me, and it's always going to be authentic. So until next time, take care.